This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Go to audible.animanicast.com to not only pick up 1, but 2 free audiobooks for free with your Audible trial. Just sign up at audible.animanicast.com. And welcome everybody to a special episode of the Animanicast. And welcome everybody once again to the Animanicast. This is the only podcast out there that is dedicated to the animated television series Animaniacs. And here we discuss the show episode by episode. We talk about all the cultural references and gags, as well as talking about related television shows such as Tiny Toon Adventures, Pinky and the Brain, and Freakazoid. But today, we're going to be talking about a few little bits of reboot news. I am Joey, and joining me once again in Los Angeles, it's my brother Nathan.
Stop the presses!
And across the country in Georgia, it's Kelly.
Hello.
Whenever you say stop the presses, or in fact anybody says stop the presses, I think of Gonzo in The Great Muppet Caper. Saying, stop the presses!
Stop the presses!
Why? What happened?
I don't know. I've always wanted to say that.
Well, anyway, stop the presses indeed. We got reboot news to talk about. Woo! Is it a trailer? Well, no.
No.
I mean, they might drop it. At this point, we've been saying it might drop at any point. Is it a character design
the day
sheet?
that we release this podcast.
Oh, totally.
Like,
There it is. In which
I'll
case,
do another one.
I'll have to do another one and another one. Well, you never know. You never know these days. But we are going to be talking about the little bits of information that we have going forward. And this is going to be a shorter episode than usual, I would think. Let's talk about, first of all, finally, the confirmation. It was in Rob Paulsen's book, Voice Lessons. The original voice cast is back. Yay!
Yeah, we knew it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When
We knew.
it's funny because we had talked about this, for weeks and weeks and months. And, even in like just off-air conversations with Tom Ruger, just everyone's like, yeah, we all know they're back. Everyone knows they're back. But it just, for whatever reason, wasn't being released. And honestly, I really get the sense that if Rob Paulsen's book hadn't had this publication date of October 8th, that it still wouldn't have been publicly released.
I don't think we would still know anything official about it. So
it's just so weird and ridiculous that it's there, but whatever.
less than a year away, and
it's got to be less than a year away.
No press release or anything.
Yeah, it's true. In fact, when it came to press releases, I guess technically the Animanicast, were the press that released it, sort of. I think we were, because I tweeted out that, I literally had just listened to the missing chapter of Rob Paulsen's book at like 3 a.m. when I was on my way to Disneyland. And as soon as I parked in Anaheim, I tweeted out, hey, we're happy to finally confirm that the cast is definitely in it. The voice cast is in Animaniacs because it's in Voice Lessons. And yeah, Maurice and LaMarche confirmed it. Rob Paulsen, Jess Harnell, they all were retweeting it. And soon enough, all the different, pop culture media outlets were quoting our tweet as well and putting it out on their articles.
using us as a source. Yeah.
Exactly. So we are a source. Yay.
That's awesome.
So there might be a few listeners listening to us right now that are brand new to the podcast. And if that's the case, I'm sorry. Please Please be
Go to listen to a better pod. This is
there's some good episodes within our,
this is a fine one, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's better episodes than this one. So.
Well, whatever. So, let's go ahead and talk about, first of all, I mean, we're all very excited that the original voice cast members are back. At least we have Tress, Jess, Rob, and Maurice are back. Sherry Stoner, last we have heard, has still not been contacted for being Slappy Squirrel. So I think,
Boo.
yeah,
At this point, I feel like they've probably recorded everything.
yeah.
Like,
There's been a few things I've been able to confirm, by the way, through secret sources who are affiliated with the project. Not huge things. That's why I didn't stop the presses about that. But we mentioned, I think it was 26 episodes, I want to say, were in the works that Rob Paulsen had, said. And apparently it's 13 episodes in season 1 and 13 episodes in season 2. So, not an enormous amount of episodes coming out in the next 2 years, but, there you go. There's that little bit of information. But as we reported before, side characters like Slappy Squirrel, probably not in it. And, we've been told that characters like the Good Feathers are not even in the show as a cameo. So I know that when it's so sad when the news was hitting and everyone was so excited and people were like, oh, I can't wait to see Slappy and the Good Feathers again. And responding to them going, actually, probably not those people, but the other folks, Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, and Pinky and the Brain, definitely.
And Minerva Mink are all.
Yeah, Minerva.
Don't believe what you say.
Minerva in every episode. No, probably not. And new characters as well. However, what I've been told is that, at least from the source I was talking to, when it comes to new characters, said that those new characters may or may not be in the first season, and that they might be in the second. Again, this person was mainly working the first season of stuff, so that they didn't really know about the second one. So there you go. So maybe there will be new characters from one source that we have, and the other source is saying probably not in the first season. So again, this is just when you're dealing with people with animation. It's such an interesting animal. You have the writers, the voice actors, the animators, the storyboard, the director, everybody is coming together to make one thing, and so many different levels. So, you have to kind of pull them all together to get the full story. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to, so that we're very excited about the voice actors coming back. But the other thing we wanted to point out was this video that recently came out, and this is from VO Buzz Weekly, or Voiceover Buzz Weekly, with Chuck and Stacy. And they have a YouTube channel, which, I'm sure many of our listeners are already subscribed to. But this was the first interview with Yakko, Wacko, and Dot, with Rob, Jess, and Tress all together in the same room talking about working together on Animaniacs. So we watched the video, and it's, I think for the most part, I mean, you can back me up on this, Nathan, I didn't hear too many major things, right?
No, nothing like groundbreaking. They're all just kind of vaguely talking how appreciative they are to be back, basically, for the new season.
Right.
And that the reboot is happening, and that they will be a part of it.
Yeah, and how fortunate and how lucky they are, and how this isn't usually the case. But there was also some positive talk about a certain Mr. Spielberg that waiting for the yay. Rob mentions this in his book as well, that Steven Spielberg pitched the reboot of Animaniacs to Netflix and Hulu and the other networks, with pictures of Rob, Jess, and Tress, saying we're going to be bringing back the original voices as well. I think this is something that Rob Paulsen found out afterwards, not during. I think there's definitely in his book, there's he talks about the being unsure for many months that are we still doing this or not? So yeah. So there's a little talk that Rob talks about, how Steven wanted to have it sound authentic with the original voice cast as well. So that was nice. That was a nice thing that Steven Spielberg did that, because that's not, as we were talking about beforehand, the way that it necessarily goes with Hollywood. You want to go for the new celebrity voices, and in this case, new writers and stuff like that.
Well, they even joke about that in they start naming all the voices that are going to be like Peter Dinklage, and I can't remember all the names.
Yeah.
About like announcing all the voices for Pinky, the Yakko Wacko and Dot, and just kind of cute.
Yakko Wacko and Dot will now be portrayed by the Jonas Brothers, and Pinky and the Brain will be portrayed by Russell Brand and Peter Dinklage, respectively.
Wow.
Yes, we're excited about that.
Here's some information. We want to talk about some of the highlights of the interview. And one of them is talking about the tone, I guess, of the show. And let's go ahead and listen to what they said.
Are you still going there?
Oh, we're going there. We're going beyond where we used to.
Right. I submit that it's still edgy. It's still
Wait a minute, Rob is
subversive.
speechless.
It's utterly just like the edict in the initial show was to not condescend to the audience, was to assume, although it is ostensibly a kids show, as they say, for kids of all ages.
No, it is. It's
very funny.
And again, the first thing that happened was when we started doing the voices, as Tress said, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the time machine. It's like everybody sounds the same. Then it proceeded to be very, very funny. And at the same time, one of the best things about Animaniacs was that it was always funny and a little bit subversive at the same time, and also very satirical as to what was going on. And by the end of the first episode, I think Wacko had already called one of the most important political leaders in the world, who shall remain nameless, a psychopath. And I thought, we're off.
Back.
We're back,
The show, I think from that clip, you can see that they are talking about the show being edgier and definitely not condescending towards kids, but at the same time, kid-like, right?
Kid-friendly still.
Kid-friendly. Right. Which is good to hear. Wacko, if it is true that, I know that a lot of people want the Animaniacs, want the Warners to parody world leaders and stuff like that. And I'd be interested in that, I suppose. It's not something I think the original show did that much at all. And when it did, it kind of felt.
They made fun of Bill Clinton and how he loved to play
the saxophone. Exactly, he did on many of the episodes, and over half of them. Yeah, so it wasn't like they were necessarily making fun of Clinton or anything. He was in a couple episodes, and even Al Gore was in the Star Trek one, I think. But it really doesn't. It wasn't a huge part of the show, and. I don't know.
It wasn't like Saturday Night Live.
No, and that's what I think that I think that's what they're kind of going for in this one. I know that one of the, and I forget his name, but I know that one of the things that we had read from one of the writers was saying that the show was kind of going to go for a Key and Peele kind of sketch show feel, which is honestly kind of what the show was originally. In some ways, because it's little bits and pieces like Rocky and Bullwinkle. But I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting without any clips to go on. But Tress did say something there.
I always thought that we said a whole lot more in the cartoons, but seems like we don't say quite as much in this new.
Now, time moves faster as years go by.
But maybe I just was.
Well, obviously, the zeitgeist is changed, and that is really where we find the differences between now and 26 years ago.
I think she actually gives out the most information in this interview.
Yeah, I was hoping they would do a follow-up question on what she meant by we don't say as much. Like, does that mean they literally don't talk as much, or
I
that
thought
they...
she said they don't sing as much.
See, and I that's what I heard the first time, but then I listened to it again, and it sounds like she says we don't say as much.
Does that mean like that the content is just less? Like,
yeah, if there, yeah, it makes me. Is it more like visual, like humor, like just that's weird because it's like, how can you not have the Warners talking that much?
Well, they may still be talking. They just might not be saying as much. You know, they're saying that it's different. You know, there's a difference between saying something and talking.
That's true.
No. So maybe they're talking just as much. They're just not saying anything.
You're not really saying anything. I mean, what are you saying? What's the point of all this?
What do you say? So that's what I wanted. I wanted to follow up just to be like, oh, is the content just nothing? Is it just like fart gags?
Yeah.
Then, like maybe that's what she's saying. Like we don't say as much.
Yeah, there's not like a commentary. Like so that is like the weirdest kind of thing. So you could tell that the writing style is definitely different, is what I think she was kind of going at. That was the most scratch my head moment really in this entire interview. To say like, what do you mean, Tress? What is that about?
I'm perfectly willing to bet money that everyone's going to hate this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, and that it's no indication. That's not a statement against any of my personal opinions or based on what we've heard or anything like that. But anytime they bring something back from the past and try to reboot it or reignite it, anyone who loved it originally pretty much hates on it.
We're in a culture that does
Star
that.
Wars, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know original fans love the new movie. I love the new movies. I feel differently about them as I do the originals, as I do the prequels, because I saw them all in different times of my life. They're different. You can't get the magic out of the bottle again, or put the magic back in the bottle, I guess, and relive your childhood.
Right.
It just, you cannot do it. So, and I think that's what a lot of people expect to feel when things like these are redone. They want to feel like they did when they were kids eating the Lucky Charms out of the cereal bowl and watching cartoons when they got home from school. And when that level of nostalgia, it can't be reimagined or whatever, duplicated, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I think people really struggle with that. So I'm willing to bet, regardless of what they do, since it's not exactly what it was before, and none of us are in the same level of life that we were when we fell in love with the show, unless they're new fans. I just don't think it's going to be as well received.
I think that's one of the reasons that Warner Brothers has not shown anything on this.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've heard kind of like the game of telephone from one person to the next, that somebody told somebody that Steven Spielberg didn't like the designs. And we'll get to that. Well,
Steven's not happy.
And again, that is through the game of telephone right there. So that may not be
that might not hold up in court.
Exactly.
Considered hearsay. I don't know, but
I think Sneezer's cute.
Sneezer
hi,
was not.
Steven. Oh, hi. Give my best to Max.
Sneezer was not my source on that, by the way. But that's literally just something that it was like somebody told me that somebody, something like that. So it could be completely false, by the way. We'll talk about the designs in just a moment. But I think that's one of the reasons that Warner Brothers hasn't shown anything. It's for the fact that, people way overreact. And I've talked to people on our Discord channel a lot about this. It's like, why haven't they shown anything? And I point out the other Warner Brothers project that was recently announced and then possibly shelved, which was the Thundercats Roar thing. Remember when that came out with that trailer? And they showed it, and it kind of looked like this mix of Adventure Time and
it looks stupid.
Teen Titans Go. Yeah, but they were trying a new formula, a new look. And I'm not a huge Thundercats fan. So I was when I was a kid, but I kind of, it's like anything. You kind of set it aside and you go, okay, let's do something else now.
I think that She-Ra is doing pretty well.
She-Ra has a brand new design. Yeah.
I haven't watched it.
I've heard it's great. But I think that people, it's so weird because I don't know, the people who are executives or the people who are animators or whomever is working on these shows is in a really weird position because you want to bring back what you liked as a kid, but at the same time, you don't want to make it look exactly the same because you want to make it different for the new audiences because kids are the new audience.
Oh, because that worked so well with the Lion King remake.
Oh, yeah. Well, for some people, it did. That's the weird thing. No, seriously, though, that movie has made a ton of money. A ton of money. Now, all three of us.
So I saw it for free.
Yeah. The three of us, we are not a fan of the new Lion King. We all talked about it briefly on the show that we're not a fan of the look. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a pointless movie. It was like,
it's not even just a look. I mean, it looks like a nature documentary, which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Where's Ed? Where's Ed? Where is Ed?
Yeah.
So you're saying, where's Zed?
No, where is Ed?
The end of the alphabet, Zed.
That is all that I care about. I mean, really. You took out the one. I mean, I loved a lot about the movie. But you took out the best part. The best, funniest, most wonderful part.
Well, and then all the funny parts.
Not bitter.
A lot of the
interesting parts were just like taken out. So.
Yes.
But okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, but when it comes to animation, it's kind of the same thing. You want to make it a little bit different. You want to make it new for a new audience, and maybe it hits, maybe it doesn't. It's great that they're bringing back the original cast, so it sounds the same. It's interesting how they decided to go with new writers. It's also interesting to talk about the designs that they're a little bit different as well. So let's go ahead and talk about that, and let's have Tress talk about it, about what the new designs are in her own words.
I'm really interested in seeing what kind of a world we're set in.
Yes,
because we don't have any idea what the thing is going to look like. It's not going to look like the old Animaniacs. I mean, our characters are kind of the same. They're kind of a little stretched, and there's something different about them, but they're the same. And some of the character drawings that I've seen for the people that we, mess around with, like we do, they're way different.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're like Hirschfeld.
Caricatures,
really odd. It's going to be interesting.
So yeah, they apparently stretched out a little bit. Now I've had, I know one of our artistic friends out there, Mark Aaron, who did the artwork for one of our Tom Ruger episodes, where the Warners are all sitting on Tom and kissing him and everything. He said, "I bet that means Dave Alvarez is working on it." Dave worked on a lot of Looney Tunes projects and comics, and I think he even worked on the Animaniacs comic series at one point. He said, "I think that's Dave Alvarez. Dave does kind of a more stretched out Animaniacs style, and he drew the Warners on his page around the time that the reboot was announced." I said, "I don't think so." And yeah, I confirmed that Dave Alvarez is definitely not involved in the show at all. So the designs that you might see online from Dave or from other people probably don't represent really what the Warners look like at all. That's just his style. But they will be looking different. And I thought it was interesting that they said the characters that they mess around with really look like Hirschfeld drawings. So very, I'm assuming caricature, stretched noses and skinny legs and stuff like that. So
that'll be weird.
It's going to look weird. It's going to look different. And I think that is honestly, I'm a member of a few 90s forums and stuff like that. And people freak out whenever they see a picture by an artist that shows the like, let's say the Rugrats in a different format, a different way than they're used to seeing them. They go, "Oh, it's trash, it's garbage," and blah. So that to me honestly, I think they could have changed the voices, changed the writers. If they just made them look exactly the same, people would have probably said, "Oh, it's Animaniacs. I love it."
They're
Which
gonna
is silly.
get a gut reaction.
Yeah, they're going to get that gut visual reaction. And I think that that's why they're not showing anything right now.
It's like when the Phantom Menace was coming out, and a friend of mine sent me a picture of what Yoda was going to look like in the Phantom Menace.
Ugh.
And
Yeah.
I jumped from my night and I said, that can't be Yoda. And then I actually had to sit down and type back because it was in an email because he couldn't hear me. And so I was like, I know that's just like a prototype. That can't actually be. Oh no, that is what he. Okay, look, Phantom Menace takes place 20 years before. Yeah. Well, no, more than 20 years before Star Wars. But what is it, like 30? I can't remember.
Oh, when you
used to know this.
When you get close to 900, it really hits you hard. And
no, but
the
the last 30 years of your life.
In his old age,
he did.
In his
I know.
age.
I'm
for being this 900 years old, 20, 30, 40 years is not gonna make that much difference. I mean, Chewie looks the same in all the movies,
sort of.
And he's what, 200
yeah.
plus now.
They did a special edition and they fixed Yoda, which I liked.
Yes.
Which means that they were admitting they screwed up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm wondering.
I even have a life-size Yoda from Phantom Menace, and I don't even want anymore because now I got like the Attack of the Clone ones, and he's still in like a storage unit.
I mean,
but I got it for free.
Design is such a huge thing. Like, you look at things like the Sonic movie, that people saw that design. Who knows if that movie's good or not? They saw Sonic and freaked out so much that they had to redesign the whole darn thing and spend millions and millions of dollars.
He had human teeth.
Yeah, he had eyeballs and quite frankly, they redesigned it. Now some images leaked and he looks better, I guess. Whatever. But the fact is, the writing is still going to be the same. The plot is still going to be the same. So the movie could still be horrible. It doesn't matter. Maybe the movie is great, but I mean, let's be honest. It's a video game movie. It's probably not going to be good. So the same thing applies for Animaniacs. I mean, the visually it might look horrible, and that's going to be the first thing that people think is like, it looks different. I don't like it. And which may not be fair, because honestly, maybe it is on par with the original series. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it'll be fantastic, and it'll feel just like the original, or at least like an updated one, whatever. But if it doesn't look the same, it's distracting. And again, this is like the third episode in a row that we've mentioned it with animation styles. But remember freelance animation. Tom Ruger, we're all talking about how it takes away from the episode, and you don't care what the characters are saying, because all you're looking at is the mouths aren't working right, and the eyes don't look right, and this doesn't look right. If it doesn't look right, it's a big part in the whole thing. So it's
like bad CGI. Yeah,
exactly. You don't care what's going on. You're just like, it's all your brain wants to focus on. And it takes you out of it, quote unquote, takes you out of it. So that is to be continued. And I think that's the main thing, the reason why we haven't seen anything. It's just because Warner Brothers is either they're scared. They're either scared that it looks way too different and they don't know how they're going to roll this out. Or B, maybe they're even redesigning it. I doubt that. Because gosh, it's so, that'd be like just going back to the beginning and reanimating the whole thing, which I doubt that would happen.
But if anybody wants to and can, it'd be Steven.
There you go. So that's the thing. So I don't know. It's so it's very weird that it's a year away now, less than a year away, and we still haven't seen a picture of what they look like.
We have that Monopoly board.
We have a Monopoly board with a new character design perhaps on it. So maybe that, but other than that, who knows? So to be continued. That's where we're going to wrap up for today. Do you guys have any parting thoughts before we go? Nathan?
Oh, they almost did a reboot for Robot Chicken or something, but they all turned it down.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
If you watch the video, you can see.
Yeah. They talk about, Oh yeah. Please watch the entire video right there, with VO Buzz Weekly. Cause it really is a great interview. And, they did talk about how, they've gotten opportunities over the years to portray the characters in weird ways. Like I think Jess Harnell talked about Wacko killing everybody in some cartoon, or like,
yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, so. That sounded like something Robot Chicken would do. So yes, very good. Kelly, any last words from you?
I am approaching it with an open mind, and I trust Steven Spielberg. So, but they just better not look weird.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens in a few weeks. So, to be continued. So, before we wrap things up, let's get to some contact information. Nathan, where can people find you online?
Ooh, Twitter. That's right. Django FT. That's me.
And Kelly, what about you?
I'm on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS, or email me, Kelly at BigShinyRobot.com.
All right, and as for the Animanicast, we're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and of course, you can hit us up. We're on Discord, which you can get a welcome link by going to discord.animanicast.com, and that will bring you into the Retro Zap Discord group, where you can talk about all things pop culture with us or any of the other podcast hosts with Retro Zap. And RetroZap.com is a great place to go to, by the way. You can get all your pop culture needs over there, as well as subscribing to the Retro Zap podcast feed. And that way you can get every single Retro Zap podcast, including this one, delivered straight to your device for free. Well, that'll do it for today's somewhat mini episode. And so for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.